I'm Kate Donahue. I lead product marketing at Pitch. If you're not familiar with us, Pitch is creating collaborative presentation software for modern teams. In my role, I help drive messaging and positioning, I oversee product launches and feature releases, and I work to make sure customer insights are delivered to our product and marketing teams. Personally, I've been using Notion for about 3 years. Coincidentally, so has the Pitch team. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about that journey and how we continue to evolve with Notion. Before I do that, might be a good time to mention that if you like working on tools that combine productivity and design, and if you're a big Notion fan, Pitch is hiring. Pitch has been using Notion since the very beginning, before our product even existed, and we've grown quickly with Notion as one of the main tools in our toolkit. So starting with our 8 founders, all the way to today with 130 employees, all actively using Pitch together. Just resize this window. Cool. I don't get to personally meet that many teams our size that are also really heavily invested in Notion and have grown up alongside it. So I thought it might be useful to give a glimpse into how it works in practice and how we're constantly retooling the way we work to help Notion scale with us alongside our other tools. If you have any questions along the way, as you see slides, drop them in the chat. Going to provide a little bit of upfront context, then we can hop into a live demo later and do a little bit more Q&A. Some teams I hear struggle getting others to adopt a new tool, and I get it, behavior change is really hard. Pitch is a little unique in that we are very enthusiastic in trying and adopting new tools, and we, from the beginning, have had a lot of enthusiastic Notion users, which is great, but as teams keep growing, you end up in this situation where you end up with lots of pages and it's not always clear how they're organized. And we don't yet have a chief Notion officer who's pruning and curating what's in our primary view. So you end up between being fast growing, going remote, having disconnected pages that are covering similar information at different levels of detail. And it can be a little difficult sometimes to suss out where should I be looking when I need important information. As a product marketer, I care about this a lot because product marketing is really about connecting people to people, employees to customers, and everyone to information. We want everybody to be on the same page on who our customers are, why customers choose Pitch, what we're shipping, when we're planning on releasing it and how, and where people can go to find the latest messaging. So having to work against disconnected systems, it can be a real challenge when we're trying to unify the way we talk and the way we move. Product marketing maintains a lot of pages within Notion on what we're shipping, how to talk about it, but we're not the only ones. Product, community support, user research, other teams all maintain similar things. And we found ourselves needing to combine the wisdom from these various teams in order to create something that anyone could reference, and more importantly, that we could all realistically maintain in the long run. A few months ago, we started working on an overhaul of our feature documentation of Pitch, so we could have a central way to look at what's shipped, show how we plan to market it, and give anyone at the company the tools they need to understand and talk about it. The goal here is to connect teams' daily reference points so that we can have one shared view around the individual features that bubbled up, the best of each team's work. So product is naturally maintaining specific documentation and insight into the specific features they're working on, how those ladder up into larger product areas. On the product marketing side, really care about how we talk about these, the exact language they use, who they're designed for, and making sure everyone has a simple way to access that information, integrate it with their workflow. And then collectively as the marketing organization, we care about how do we coordinate release plannings, how do we best support new customers with our support team in finding how to learn and understand new features or asking questions about work that we're still creating. And then we have a weekly cadence for releases, so we want people to understand across the company what's going out each and every week. This ended up becoming our mega template, a feature and messaging documentation. I'm going to take you through it section by section in this presentation just to set some context, and then we can flip over to the Notion view. So with our feature page template, it's basically taking all of these items on the last slide and compiling it into a way that we hope is useful across the company. So within our properties here, we can easily connect it using relational databases to our product pillars, our value messages, product areas, and the different product modes. So people have an at-a-glance way to understand what part of the product does this live in, who's working on it, how does it ladder up to everything that is pitch. It also connects to items like our help center and our glossary. We'll show later in here how that really comes to life in the page. And some of this is purposely expanded for this demo, but we also try to hide properties when it makes sense so that people don't open giant pages. The next section gives us a really quick way to help anyone understand, is this a free or paid feature? How does it work across platforms? Who can access it? And what's the release status? Some things are still kind of behind the scenes, some are in active beta, and some are available to all of our customers. We also have this table of contents to help people kind of quickly find the information most useful for us. Obviously, people in marketing, we really care about the external content. How do we talk about this to customers? Internally, people might want to understand who's working on this, what is future work to be done on this feature area, and what are some changes that have been occurring over time. The next section, standardized, gives every teammate an overview of the core functionality and use cases. One of the interesting things at Pitch is that we are all active users of our software. So we have kind of a very specific lens into how we use Pitch. But this kind of helps us level set how others might use it, feedback we hear, and how we want to educate people around core use cases. The next section here is like we were able to kind of use formatting to standardize like at-a-glance information, like who is this for, how do we talk about it, and start to define core areas of the interface. The interface changes a lot, so having things like synced blocks has become really handy. So as we have common definitions that might be represented in this documentation, we can maintain it in one place and have it reflected everywhere. So I'm super excited about this new feature. And then we also use relational databases within here to help connect this page to the shipping cadence each week, as well as the bigger feature release communications that we do to take products to market. I'll show you when we go to the live view how this uses self-referencing filters to quickly populate these pages. So there's no additional work done here. And we take these really giant databases, looking at the product roadmap, looking at work that gets pushed through our Slack channel from GitHub, and just connect it so that if you do want to see how a product has evolved, or sorry, how feature area has evolved, you have an easy way to do that. I think that is the end. I will go through this player page that I just showed here so you can kind of see it in a little bit more detail. And then I can take you through the base template. If you have any questions, now would be a great time to drop it into the chat, and I'm happy to answer any specific questions or any things you have about how we set this up, what it's like to try and maintain these sort of pages, and anything else that comes to mind. So this is the page I showed, just so you can kind of see it all in one space. We do hide lots of these additional properties. We try to make this useful across. While I will not be able to share this exact template, I'm happy to kind of give you some guidance just because it's so cross-connected this way. But yeah, I can maybe chat with you offline about that. Yes, we have more things. I won't expose them because I think they have people's names in here. So we try to keep this page light and easy. This was a really nice tip I actually picked up from the Notion team. So if you take the callout blocks, you can actually change the color to be white on the background, just a nice aesthetic update that makes things a little bit easier to stand out compared to some of the other ways to stylize text. The table of contents is pretty standard, and then we try to be realistic in how to kind of glance and go through this information. So we use toggles a lot to help people visually scan. We also use the inline links so that people can see how features are directly related to other ones. And then we expand it. It allows us to like easily throw in things like videos of the latest, how the feature works in practice. We can update these really quickly on the product marketing side. And then it helps people see how the feature is seen by end users or customers versus how we might experience it in our version of pitch, or when we're trying to do specific tasks. I really love these template, or like these, little template blocks. So we use this to populate, get like a prompt going for user benefits, just so there's less cost copying and pasting across pages. And so as the team grows, we kind of always have a similar starting point for how we start to frame benefits. Won't go too much into the glossary, though I'll note here, these filters are pre-set up. So when I start a new page, you enter the name, this feature area name starts to connect to other parts of our Notion and is able to kind of bring these things in without any manual work on the person's maintaining this document side. Similar thing with our Help Center articles. And the added benefit here is you can see just around this one feature area alone, it's touched by a lot of Help Center articles today. So when we make updates, when we change the way things are called, which we did very recently when we changed the functionality, we have an easier way to let the community support team knows what's happening, which is critical because we're not in the same office anymore. We're also globally distributed. So it starts to help us set off a chain of events that helps the right thing hopefully happen at the right time by our release date. You can see we use these blocks to kind of set things apart from external documentation. So it's very challenging. And then are challenging to kind of make sense of all of this text. We use the sync blocks here for the variations. And then, getting actually a lot of use out of that. We also have these competitive pieces we don't need to focus on so much. And then, again, similar, everything is a self-referencing database here that lets us easily pull in the right information. This is a new-ish process. So some product teams are more looped into this than others at the moment. The end goal here is to also kind of be able to give ourselves an easy to glance change log that's a little bit more front and center versus maybe going through the version history on the page. I'll also show you what this looks like at the very beginning, just so you can kind of see that with this template, we actually have a very simple starting point. So everything is just bundled up under here. You click it, it will load and expand in a moment. You can see for these areas, it's just a matter of removing the things that aren't relevant. We have a baseline structure for the page, so like bare minimum. This is the kind of documentation we want to maintain today, from bringing in some elements from around other pages, and in the future, just having this as our main home, and everything is sort of set up to be populated, filled out. This is obviously a dummy name, but if it was something real that was being referenced across other pages, everything here would be fleshed out across both versions of the glossary. And you can see we have extra filters set up here so we can split things out by internal versus external language. Same thing with feature communications and the shipped updates. I would make a note here, the Notion API has come in tremendously handy. We manage kind of the influx of shipped updates through Slack. And I used to have to manually copy and paste it, which is a lot of work. And now I can trigger an update via Zapier that pushes it into Notion. And then maybe I clean up one or two things and it creates an easier view into what's happening on a weekly basis, but then also sets us up here for this more historical look at how any individual feature has evolved over time. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. Appreciate your time. I think my profile here has my Twitter information. If there's any other questions you have, you want to connect or follow up on anything, you're more than welcome to get in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you.